You're watching Arise Prime Time, and we have another guest with us, Osita Chidoka. He was a member of the People's Democratic Party, and he's also a very popular figure in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Chidoka.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Okay. Happy New Year, and it's 2025.
To you.
Yes. You wanted to talk about the budget and, generally the state of the nation.
Yes.
So let's start. What are your views or perspectives about the budget that has been or will be passed, or the discussions around that?
Well, I started the new year in a very depressed mood when I heard the budget presentation by the president. And I'll just briefly say that the budget, which is in US dollars, if you put it at 1,600, is at about 31 billion US dollars. And if you look at the 2014 budget, the last budget made by President Jonathan, at the exchange rate at that time, it was $27 billion. So in 10 years, our budget has grown by 14% only, when our population is growing at a faster rate in 10 years. And the size of the deficit in the budget has also tripled. So debt servicing has increased. Now, if you look at the 2014 budget of President Jonathan and compare with the 2004 budget of President Obasanjo, in 2014, President Obasanjo's budget at 132 naira to the dollar then was about $9 billion. By 2014, the budget has grown 200% to $27 billion. So what we have is that the 10 years, 2014 to 2024, that the APC has been in power, the budget has literally stagnated. So I will bring that to an implication. The implication of that is that sectoral allocations are dwindling by the day. So faced by massive devaluation, faced by high debt borrowing that's happened over the past 10 years, the government is running out of money. And the budget, large in Naira terms, is very insignificant in dollar terms. So let's take the budget for one of the major issues confronting Nigeria, policing. The budget for police in 2025 is about $798 million. If you put it in dollars, it's about some 2 trillion or thereabout. Now, if you look at that, the capital vote for the police is just 47 million US dollars. So where are they going to buy the trackers from? How are they going to buy vehicles? How are they going to buy all the equipment that is required to fight terror in Nigeria?
But you also know that in general, the budget for security has also increased tremendously. I think it's...
No, it's not tremendous. In dollar terms.
Security, no. So in the 2025 budget...
Yes, it's 4 trillion.
In 2025, yes, it got the lion's share compared to other sectors.
So that's what I'm saying. In reality, let me tell you what it translates to. And let's do a little maths here. In South Africa, the budget for the police in South Africa is about 6 billion US dollars. In Egypt, it's about 204 billion US dollars. It's about 204 billion. Now, if you take it per capita, in South Africa with 60 million population, their budget for policing comes to about $100 per person. The budget for policing in Egypt comes to almost $1,000 per person. But the budget for policing in Nigeria is $2 per person. So in reality, the budget was depressing. And the depression is not because it's President Tinubu's budget. It is how we have fundamentally as a country not made progress over the past 10 years. And that lack of progress is haunting us.
Right. So that actually is a good segue into the conversation about leadership and recruitment process.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's important, those two things have a connection. If you are recruiting the right people, then you are getting the right leaders, then you are making progress that you have talked about. So what has broken here? You have been in the political space for quite a while, so you sort of understand the goings on in that sector. What do you think is the key challenge in getting the right people, and how do we resolve that?
So, again, if you look at the data, the challenge with elections in Nigeria, leadership recruitment, is the failure of elections So the Athena Center that I chair has made, important revelations about the off-cycle elections. I won't dwell on it. But the challenge is that so long as the people cannot determine their leadership, then we will have a leadership hijack. So what is happening is hijack.
Yeah.
And it is hijacked by people who are clear and present danger to Nigeria. And I will explain that now. You see, every time we talk in Nigeria, people talk about secession by IPOB or secession by Oduduwa Republic or even the North or anybody. But actually, the real secession that has happened in Nigeria, and a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, pointed it out to me last 2 weeks, is that there has been an elite secession in Nigeria. The elites have seceded from Nigeria.
That's an interesting way to put it, because you're absolutely correct, because you're looking for that elite class that's supposed to be the custodians that are nowhere to be found.
And not only have they seceded, their children do not go to public schools. They don't go to public hospitals. They live in gated communities in Maitama, Sokoro, and Ikoyi, Banana Island. So if you notice, they have no interaction with everyday people. So our leaders cannot think about the everyday people. So what you see them think about is road projects, commissioning of bridges, of flyovers. But in reality, the budget does not deal with the basic problems of people. It doesn't deal with the fundamental restructuring of Nigeria to reflect the changes in our population. For instance, cocoa price is at $12,000 this December. Most of this year is sold at above $9,000. 2 years ago, it was $2,700. What is Nigeria doing to benefit from the cocoa boom? Why are we still a primary cocoa exporter instead of exporting butter and cocoa powder, which is semi-processed goods? As far back as 1985, President Babangida thought about processing cocoa and provided loans to Nigerian companies. So you have Ileoluji, you had Cadbury, who were processing cocoa into powder and butter. Today, Nigerians are now exporting raw cocoa, and we don't have the capacity to meet the lack of capacity that is currently happening in Côte d'Ivoire.
Right. All these things that you've explained point to the fact that actually the solutions to our problems are internal. We can find them within our country, in our traditional system. Because when you talk about the elites being removed from the people and therefore they do not live in the reality, in the traditional system, you are there with your people, you're part of the people, so you feel them every day, you know what they need. So why is it then that all the time we're looking for some grand solution from one international institute, from one think tank somewhere far away, and it is just, under our noses? Yeah,
because as I said, once every society suffers elite secession, it's not peculiar to Nigeria. What you find is elites that are not, basically connected. So when the federal government colleges were working, the students of commissioners, permanent secretaries, ministers were in federal government colleges. When the universities were working, the children of the elites were in the universities. Once they pulled their children after the university, after they've diverted the money for other projects, then they took their children to private schools. Then they took their children abroad. So now our children are not in Nigeria, are not in school with the normal people. So we don't have any incentive to push for reforms in those places. When I was Minister of Aviation, my daughter was at Federal Queen's College, Lagos. So every time we came to council, I was the major spokesperson for funding for federal government colleges. Because I think that where we are today in Nigeria is that everybody is a local government. You drill your own borehole. You put your own power. Now we are generating solar power.
Yes.
So I think that, like you said, a new leadership, everywhere in the world, people try to elect middle-class people to leadership, not rich people, because they don't feel the pain. They are in private jets. So the first thing they think about is how to buy more luxurious jets, because they don't live with the normal people. They have been for many years outside of how people suffer to pay school fees, how people suffer to start business with 200,000. They don't know it anymore. So it is important as a nation that we return to that process where middle-class people can come to leadership, people who feel the need for society to work for them, because the current leadership we have don't feel any need for that.
Right.
They have bulletproof cars. They are going to put money in security for themselves. So the $2 per person does not reflect the amount being spent on the elite, because some of us, we have 5 policemen, 10 policemen with us, so we're not getting the $2. It is the masses that is getting the $2.
Right.
So the state of the nation, the way I see it now, is that I think President Tinubu has his work cut out. He needs to, pursue the reforms he's trying to pursue. We may agree, disagree, but he needs to pursue the reforms that fundamentally alters the incentive structure for Nigeria's public sector.
Do you think he has that vision to be able to do this, or we're just going to be wasting the next couple of years?
Well, my attitude is that once we elect a president for 4 years, 4 years is a long time to throw away.
Yes.
All of us must come together to make him succeed, because it's a long time to throw away. The opposition in years by, when he was in opposition, he was able to demonize government. But I think that's not the way it happens, because when you demonize government and eventually come to power, you see that there is low trust between the society and government. So he presents something like a tax reform bill. People did not read it. People did not look at what was the issue, but they came to conclusion. Once it is from government, it must be bad.
Right.
That's what happens with demonizing governance. At the end of the day, we all suffer for it.
You left the People's Democratic Party.
Yes.
Why?
Because I have other things I want to do. I hope to return to politics someday. But for now, I think that what needs to happen in Nigeria is for us to have clean elections. I think it is critical. Without clean elections, then there is no need for democracy in Nigeria, because the hijack of power in the ballot paper, using the instrumentality of INEC to hijack power, makes nonsense of democracy. So means that all of us have to kowtow to the government in power to be able to function as a democracy.
So you're not joining any other political party for now? For now,
I'm not joining any political party. So, I'm focused on the Athena Center.
Okay, PDP was your political home.
Yes.
For many years. Yes. So it must be sad leaving the party. When you assess what's going on, do you think, like some say, that the party is completely dead? Or do you have hope or think that it can be revived? Because it is the biggest opposition, it's supposed to be the biggest opposition. And it's a party that has a big umbrella that's accommodated all regions of Nigeria for so many years. So it would be a shame for many Nigerians that this party goes down the drain like that. It's
sad. This is not the PDP we envisioned. This is not the PDP we planned for. This is not the PDP we wanted to move from just an electoral vehicle to a leadership transforming institution. Sadly, the loss of 2014 election, the loss of a charismatic national leader at that time led PDP into the quagmire we are today, a rulership by governors. So the governors can't see big picture. Each of them is concerned with their states. And when you have people of consistent poor judgment in the leadership of the party, they kept changing chairmen, thinking that that was the solution to the party. But PDP needs a total rebirth, if there is any such word.
Are they capable of that?
I wish them success in doing that.
Right.
But,
and when you talk about poor judgment, when you talk about leadership, do you think that people like former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, people like Minister Yusuf Weekend have played a very big role in pushing the party to its death?
I don't want to personalize it, as it were now, on who. It's collective failure on our part. Collective failure that our leadership of PDP at the time in the National Assembly did not rise to the occasion as leadership, as a minority party. They didn't rise to the occasion of an opposition party. The PDP governors all mouthed words of opposition, but did nothing in practice to keep the government in office in check. Like I told you, 10 years of the APC government, the budget grew by just 14%. That is stagnation. From 27 billion in 2014, we are 31 billion. Nothing has changed. The country has grown bigger, more complex, and yet more in debt. PDP handed over a clean balance sheet to the APC in terms of international debt. And now we are back to where we were before the debt forgiveness. So there is need for the government again to restart the conversation about debt renegotiation, debt forgiveness if possible, and I don't want anybody to say it's impossible. What needs to happen is that people have to see the sincerity of change in behavior, of government curbing expenses. And fundamentally, what has broken Nigeria down more is the idea that political office is the venue for money making. So the rest of the country don't want to respect any rules because they think that the politicians are not respecting any rules. They are there for themselves. They are there to make money for themselves. So why won't we make money for ourselves? So
how do you make a case for debt forgiveness when it is obvious that you're very rascally in the way that money is spent?
Yeah, that's the tragedy of the Buhari era that brought us here. But also, the government needs to press a reset button and say to themselves, this cannot work. The management of national diversity is still low under President Tinubu. Now in Nigeria, every person that is a soldier, that is a police officer, knows that they cannot be IG anymore, except a president from their region becomes, a president comes from their region. This is the debacle Nigeria has fallen into in the past 10 years. Before now, under President Obasanjo, service chiefs were routinely from the Middle Belt, Northerners. Anybody could be anything. Under Jonathan, we had Northern IG of police. But under Buhari, that changed. And under President Tinubu, he has continued that. So what is happening now is, whether you are in the paramilitary, in the military, every officer now knows that what you have to wait for to get to the top is for somebody from your ethnic group to rise. That means that we have no universal national vision. The president has not been able to bring us together to say, as Nigerians, we are going to take these painful pills. But at the end of it, this is the place where we are going to be. An economy managed purely by Yorubas and a security agency by Yorubas leaves much to be desired.
Right.
And means that the state of the nation is quite parlous. And I believe that 2025 offers him an opportunity to press that reset button.
I mean, still on politics and opposition, what do you think about the Labour Party? Since, PDP is dangling, what do you think about Labour? I mean, you still live in the country, so politics has to go on.
The Labour Party is in Labour.
Expatiate, please.
So I think it's in Labour.
Right.
So we're waiting for the delivery. But I guess these are external forces again, pushing for crisis in political parties. It will not augur well for Nigeria if political parties are not strong enough to present viable opposition.
Yeah.
And opposition is not of a destructive nature, but opposition is what keeps us going. It's the Public Accounts Committee in the Senate, in the House, that calls the executive to order, that ensures that money is spent for what it is meant for. It is the work of the opposition to see that the expenditures budgeted for. I mean, look at the fact I'm giving you here. $2 per person for policing. How do we augment that? I have a simple strategy. The federal government must align its budget with state governments. We have 36 states. If you think about $2 per person, and you think about the about 70 billion that you have for overhead in the police, just imagine each state in Nigeria using 3 billion naira annually to fund police operations in their state as part of a national strategy for policing. That means that we already have almost 109 billion naira available to augment the operational cost of the police. While the federal government pays the salaries of the police, no state governor today takes less than 3 billion naira in security votes. Why can't the president get the governors and in a symbiotic agreement said, fueling of police cars, buying of arms for them, buying their uniform, keeping the police stations clean, putting solar energy there, buying their computers for them to be able to communicate, walkie-talkies. Let the states do that. We will pay the salaries. And we will make sure that those policemen stay in your state for at least 4 years, during which period you kit them, you do this. It won't cost any state more than 3-4 billion. Every state in Nigeria can afford it. Lagos can even do 10 billion. So that means that we can get additional 200 billion in funding directly to the police force. And this will be money spent at state levels. Money is not sent to the IG and never trickling down. So we need to be creative in thinking.
So are you in tune with the state police discussion?
So I'm not even going there.
Yeah.
Well, let's not, because we are not talking constitutional matter. I'm talking about today, the clear and present danger of policing in Nigeria and how to begin to resolve it now while we wait for the constitutional issues of policing. And it's important to know that despite our rich palm oil heritage in Nigeria, that in 2024, by half year, we've spent $660 million in importing palm oil. So these are the kind of issues that I will call quick wins. I don't know why any state government will not invest in these things that will end them foreign exchange. That's what the regions did.
I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. Mr. Osita Chidoka, Director, Athena Center for Policy and Leadership. Thank you so much for joining us.
Chancellor, Athena Center.
Chancellor, okay. Even better. Yes. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
All
I
right.
wish you all the best in 25.
Thank you. Well, that's it for this edition of Arise Primetime. Do join us again next week. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, goodbye, and thank you for watching.